Please note that this video features spoilers for those who have not yet played this game. Okay, check this out. Got the Ifrit equipped. This is the dunk move. I love it. Oh yeah! Okay, more advanced technique uses the Aquila. Watch this, and pull them all in, and gone! Okay, let's make a video. Hey folks, this is Max, and on this episode of Great Levels in Gaming, we're taking a look at an awesome level in DmC Devil May Cry, which was developed by Ninja Theory and published by Capcom in early 2013 for the PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. Ignoring the debate over New Dante, this game does some very interesting things in its design, particularly in how Limbo is depicted as a bit of a satire of modern America in some ways. One of the moments when this is most apparent to me is here in Mission 10, Bad News, in which you face off against Bob Barbas, the boss demon who runs the Raptor News Network, a TV station and surveillance network dedicated to spreading fear through propaganda, which takes the form of a prison in Limbo. One of the first things you might notice about Bob is the resemblance he bears to a certain American TV personality. Said pundit will remain nameless in this video, but the, factor to which he bears this resemblance is a little uncanny. One of this level's greatest strengths is just how well it takes the concept of fighting a political pundit on TV and just runs with it. Pretty much everything about this fight is relevant to the subject matter, either aesthetically or mechanically, and this is apparent from the very start when Bob first blasts you from his tower. The beam itself looks suspiciously like television static, or white noise, which might also be a little jab at punditry itself as being a whole lot of noise without much substance. The game also takes a moment to return to the theme of this environment being upside down to reflect Raptor News' practice of presenting lies as truth, a recurring idea that the game wastes no time establishing as soon as Dante enters the area a few levels prior.
Well, Bob, now I get why your point of view is so upside down.
The next part I want to talk about is the entire reason for the spoiler tag at the start of the video, and is my absolute favorite moment in the level. Once you finish dodging the tower's beams, when you grapple onto the giant TV screen on the side of the tower and pull yourself in, punching through it, the opening credits to Barbas' show start rolling and you find yourself platforming through the intro graphic. While on one level this is simply a staging area before the fight against Barbas, its design fits in with the rest of the game in a way that's just amazing. Up until now, and long after, Limbo is depicted as a twisted, malevolent version of reality broken apart and corrupted, so the sudden shift to a clean, abstract environment goes completely against the aesthetic that the game has trained you to expect. At the same time, though, it's completely consistent with another aspect of the game's design. Let's take a look for a moment at a previous area, the Virility Factory. Like most of the environments in Limbo, the factory's Limbo equivalent is corrupted and grimy. It's full of these grotesque biological tanks, which reflect the fact that virility is a highly addictive chemical soda produced by a hideous worm creature. No, not that one. Okay, there we go. That's the one. Just as the factory's form in Limbo reflects the characteristics of the succubus, the environment both around and within the Raptor News Tower is designed around Barbas' personality and character as an oppressor who controls what the people are allowed to see. In this way, it makes complete sense that you would literally enter his show, since it's all he wants anyone to see of him. In this sense, even though the aesthetic of this section is totally different from what you've seen before now, it's still completely thematically consistent with what the game has established, so the surprise it leads to isn't at the expense of the game's consistency. That's just totally awesome! Once you get through to the actual stage for the fight, you can immediately notice some details that again play with the theme of the fight. The arena is surrounded by screens, touching on Raptor's role in total surveillance of the population, and Bob addresses Dante early on in the form of a giant TV screen broadcasting a show. At first it doesn't even seem like he's talking directly to Dante until he responds to Dante's taunting.
I'm taking you off the air.
You think so? I wouldn't bet on it, you little shit.
Additionally, the form Bob takes for the fight is literally that of a talking head, which to the uninitiated is a term often used to describe a pundit, someone whose entire job is to go on TV to tell their opinions to anyone who will listen and dominate any arguments that might arise from doing so. In keeping with this, the fight starts with Bob invincible and constantly attacking you, which he does by pretty much just yelling at you, again consistent with his character. You can't fight back until you use the Eric's gauntlets to smash the crystals on the floor, quite literally pushing his buttons to stun him. Eventually you beat him up enough to get to pull yourself into one of his eyes, literally getting inside his head, leading to the fight's first big change-up. The first time I played this, it took me a moment to actually realize that I was still in control of Dante, since the perspective changes to that of a news camera, and Bob proceeds to say as many negative things as he can while you're preoccupied fighting a group of enemies that he sends at you. Much like modern sensationalist newscasters, the one presenting the information can do so out of context to misrepresent the subject without them being able to counter, quite literally because Dante in this case is just so busy fighting off a bunch of Stygians. After 2 rounds of this, the game decides to raise the stakes for the final round of the fight. This is a textbook example of the rule of 3 being used to great effect, by which the fight is split into 3 sections of increasing intensity, the last of which ends with the release of the tension built throughout all 3. Bob's interruption of the fight to report breaking news that the Order's hideout is being raided is absolutely perfect at raising the stakes in a way that makes sense within the context of the story. Again, this is exactly what Bob Barbas does. He reports news to rile people up and get them angry, and by threatening your allies who have been fleshed out over the previous few levels, particularly Kat, there's suddenly a more pressing incentive to win than just Barbas being an ass and wanting to get on Mundus's nerves. Additionally, this serves to set up the second half of the game, as you can see Dante realize his personal stake in the fight against Mundus, the game's primary villain, beyond just his desire for revenge for the death of his mother and the imprisonment of his father. After Dante finishes Barbas off by stylishly shooting him through his screen, which I absolutely love by the way, you get the new angel weapon Aquila, which confused me at first, because I was wondering why would a demon give you an angel weapon, but actually it makes complete sense. Bob Barbas' entire identity was based around appearing as holy as he could.
This is Bob Barbas, just doing God's work.
And this extends to the weapon that he gives you in his death. I think it's a really smart way to further the game design by balancing the player's weapon set without sacrificing the consistency of the story in order to do so. It's really notable how well this level was designed around the character of the boss, while still advancing both the gameplay and the story so effectively. It doesn't sacrifice either one to improve the other, and the theme of the level is visible and meaningful everywhere throughout it, forming a strong cohesive whole that stands well both on its own and within the greater scope of the entire game. A level like this really shows the truth in that old saying, "The devil is in the details." Thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. With the goal of making the best videos that I can, I always welcome your feedback, and I hope you'll check out the other videos on my channel and let me know what you think of them as well. I hope you'll also join me again next time when I take a look at another great level in gaming.